show you a little bit about how everything is growing around here. This is the first day that I've brought the plants outside. It's April 22nd. We are probably going to plant the first weekend in May. Keeping an eye on the weather in terms of whether or not that's actually going to happen, but as you can see, they're pretty big, and we really need to they need to get in the ground real soon. So we are hoping to plant them just slightly on the early side. So come down here, a lot of these are hot peppers in here. A lot of our ahi peppers and stuff are in this one. This one, some of them are not as tall for whatever reason. I am probably going to top off some of these peppers. I was meant to do that earlier today, but I just haven't got around to it, but I might do that tonight. We'll see how they do after their first hour outside, though. I don't want to give them, too much shock in one day, but if you top them off, it's supposed to help give energy to side branches. Let's see if I can find a good example in one of them. Let's see. So like taking this one for example, like this was the first set of true leaves, and there's like the second set and the third set, and then so we would take this bit off in the middle. This plant might not be the best example, but anyway, it's supposed to help encourage growth and more branches like in these little sections here, which they are. They do have teeny tiny little barely there nubs of branches that would grow eventually, but it's just to help kind of grow a stockier, more bushy plant. I did not do that last year. I have never done that before. I was planning to do it this year and see how that worked out, that we did not have any problems with bushy plants last year. So we'll see what we end up doing. But so that's some more of our peppers. These are our tomatoes over here. Some of them, most of them, not all of them though, and they are very tall. Now they are very strong. Last year my tomatoes were tall like this, but stalks were kind of weak. They weren't as strong as these. They were kind of falling over. I ended up actually having to use like popsicle sticks to stake them in the cups just to give them some more support. I have been seeing online with a lot of people saying that this is relatively normal, and just to bury them deep when it's time to go ahead and transplant them, to just kind of transplant them pretty deep. So that's what we're planning on doing. We do have some issues. I don't know if I can find an example on here, but we have had some issues with like edema on the tomatoes, which I guess is from overwatering. And it's just like little spots on the tomato leaves. Not finding an example at the moment, but that is what I've been learning. So we've got a couple of other tall boys over here among the peppers. And then this is some peppers and some more of our tomatoes. So I got some basil in there. Behind them, I saw an Instagram video where somebody recommended that like once you plant basil and it starts to sprout, to kind of leave it alone and don't water it until it gets really good and established, that it is very sensitive to overwatering. And so I've really barely touched it with water, honestly, and they're certainly doing better than anything I tried to start last year, so that's good enough for me. And then I'll take you over here to the garden, the side garden bed, and let me unlock the gate so I can get in there and really show you. There's our little gate. So I do have peas. I don't want to be trying to shadow everything in the spot. But there's peas that go all the way down in the front. We are having a lot of weed pressure in this bed for some reason, so that's kind of getting annoying. Just having to pull from what we found. This is, it's like, what was it? Crestbill horn, I don't know, I have to ask my husband. I can't remember what it's called now. Nosebeak, hornbill, something. That was weird. Some kind of weed. Anyway, but they're doing really good, and the peas are very strong. I can't remember exactly what date I planted them on, but they did take a little while to germinate, but they're doing really good. So I've got 2 varieties. This one is Sugar Daddy Peas, is what it's called. And on this side over here is Sugar Bun Peas. And again, I'm trying to get my shadow out of the way, and they go all the way down here. Now this variety, it was slower to germinate than the other one, but it's growing more consistently, and I think I have pretty much 100% germination, where on the other one I have probably 80%. I have about 100% here because there's not really any gaps and stuff in the planting, and there's like a 6-inch gap in my other ones where some of them didn't germinate. So they're starting to vine, they're starting to grab onto stuff. I don't know if you can see that, but I did kind of plant them a little further away from the fence than I probably should have, but they're gonna find it no problem. They're gonna grow right up this fence. I think it's gonna be great. So these over here are yellow beets that I put out when they were just a couple weeks old. I'm actually amazed that they survived. And I'm gonna feel real bad because I'm gonna have to pull them early. I'm just gonna be real with you all. These things over here on this side was more of an experiment than anything. And I'm really impressed by the resiliency of these plants. They really bounced back really well. And I've got some red beets over there. But we're just gonna need this space. And I think we're gonna end up resowing beets and brassicas in the fall after we pull everything else out. But I do have one cauliflower plant that I might keep because it is just so strong. It's doing so good. This is my cauliflower plant right here. There's no like cauliflower head or anything that's formed yet, but it has been doing just great since I put it out here. And then over here is another cauliflower, and these are broccoli. I don't know. Maybe I'll try to transplant them into a pot. I'm not really sure, or I'm just gonna pull them. But we really needed the space, and they just didn't mature. They got kind of stunted when I put them out here, and they just didn't mature as quickly as I thought they would, honestly, when I planted them for spring crops. So I just don't think we're spring gardeners, honestly, except maybe for the peas. You know, getting a head start on those was working out fine, but other cool weather crops and stuff, I think we're just gonna end up doing in the fall after all the summer things come out, because we just limited on space right now. But that is what is growing and how it's doing, and I cannot wait until these plants start giving me sugar snap peas, because that is going to be some seriously good garden snacks. So here we are. This is actually 5 days later, and this is the day that we're going to actually plant out in the garden. So we've come in here, we've done some weeding, we've gotten that pesky weed kind of pulled out from the peas, and it's a little more than a week since this video was taken, and it's time to do it again. We're really having a lot of problems with weeds in this bed. We did end up pulling the beets, the one cauliflower, and the broccoli plants, but I took those over to my neighbors that has chickens and gave them to their chickens, because I thought, you know, fresh, you know, broccoli and, you know, baby beets and stuff, there's probably things that they don't ever get to eat, so it was a real treat for them. And we did some time lapsing because this was going to take a lot. We were hoping that we would get our infrastructure in place before we actually planted out the garden, but just as time and weather was going to allow, we ended up just doing it all in the same weekend. So on Saturday, on the 27th of April, we took care of this bed, and then the following day, we took care of the other bed. And, you know, not probably the best way to go about doing things, but that's just what we ended up having to do. That first weekend in May was just going to be really, the weather just was not going to cooperate. It was calling for storms and stuff all weekend, and we didn't want to wait later than that, so we went ahead and we just planted things early. One of the things that I find the most difficult about gardening is hardening off plants. At some point in this video, you'll see how everything is doing, you know, about a week or so later. And you'll see sun scorch on my pepper plants and different things. Like hardening off is just really, really difficult. Weather elements and all these things go into play. Our work schedules like go into play. Like you're supposed to put them out for like, you know, an hour on the first day and 2 hours the next day and then 3 hours and 4 hours and so on until they're out there like all day long. And it's just very hard to be able to get that and the time and the attention to be able to do that. So that is definitely an area for us to learn, be more prepared for. It's just difficult, but you know, we try, we get there. So some of our plants are a little stunted at the moment, but there is new growth and they are going to bounce back and everything's going to be fine because we didn't really get to harden them off properly last year either, and everything was fine. So I did keep the one cauliflower plant that was doing the best. I'm just going to go ahead and let that grow. There was space enough to leave it there. So we went ahead and we did that, and I'm excited to see how that goes. The soils seem to be in good shape. We did try to plant our tomatoes especially, and some of our larger peppers just really deep if we could, to give them a little bit more support. The soil was really looking good. The soil in this bed was looking good, but the soil in the other bed, when we get to it, was looking just fantastic. I don't know why that is, why there's, you know, a difference, but last year in the bed on the side of the garage was primarily tomatoes and peppers. So I don't know if there's something maybe that tomatoes and peppers like give back to the soil that caused the soil over there to just be a lot more dark and rich looking than this soil. And it'll be interesting to see, because now that we're over here this year, our tomatoes and our peppers are going to be over here. So I don't know if there'll be a natural amendment to the soil conditions over here or not. You know, time will tell. We did not get a cattle panel. We didn't really have any way of transporting one, so we had to go with this kind of rolled up fence. It's like a coated fence, but I think it'll serve our purposes just fine. And this was a hard day. You know, getting down on your hands and knees and putting things in the ground is a lot harder than it sounds. But we got everything planted out. I planted I have 7 tomato plants actually. We had 3 on each panel. We had set up 2 panels. So we've got 3 tomatoes on each panel, and then one, the Napoli variety, is supposed to be like a bush variety of tomato. So I've got it in a cage on the end of the tomato bed. But everything went really well and is doing good over here. This is definitely a long day, but it felt good to get these plants in the ground. On to day 2 and doing the garden bed that's up against our garage on the side of the house. Since I knew we were going to be you know, outside for most of the afternoon, and I was going to be very, very tired by the time it was all was said and done. Before we ever went out, I went ahead and I prepped my dinner. So I went ahead and I made a meatloaf, and I pulled some things out of the freezer. I had some like bacon scallop potatoes that I had put in the freezer for, you know, a later time. I pulled out some zucchini and yellow squash from last year's garden because we have a lot of that that really needs to be used up. My meatloaf is just very, very basic: salt, pepper, garlic powder, breadcrumbs, ketchup, and a little bit of A1 sauce and an egg is what I put in there. I keep it simple. Everybody really likes it. I took video and pictures of what I prepped for dinner, but I didn't take any like pictures of everything being done. But this is just to show you, like, it was just planning ahead, knowing that dinner needed to be really easy, but it's still something that that was scratch made, that I made myself, pulling from things that we had previously prepared in the freezer, and that really was a big help. It made coming in and making sure that there was a good dinner really, really simple. So here's just a video, or some pictures of what the one completed garden bed looked like that morning. And now we've got some infrastructure that's going in. The A-frames are going to be for the Georgia Candy Roaster squash and a couple of cucumbers that I've, seeds that I planted. We decided to do kind of like a string method for supporting our peppers, and I also have that for the green beans, and I'm using these same T-posts where I'm going to plant zucchini, because I'm going to try to plant zucchini vertically this year. And this is where I put carrots, and that's that bed. And this is just a little bit of a video. This is about a week, maybe 8 days later, to show you my zucchini have sprouted. My green beans, look, is just mind-blowing how fast they popped up out of the ground. Was just fantastic. The one variety, I think that's the Cantare on the left, and then the Odeon bush is on the right. One is obviously ahead of the other. These are carrots. These are the pelleted carrot seeds from Johnny Seeds that I got. And these are cucumbers, and they're on the right. Is the Georgia Candy Roaster. I had one of those that's coming up, and then it's going to be really, really hard to see, but I definitely can see it in there. It is almost getting ready to come out of the ground. And these are the peppers. Sorry, I did not do a good job taking this video. Kind of feels like I'm all over the place, turning the camera upside down and everything else. But a couple of them are struggling. I mean, they were kind of struggling when we put them in, you know, so I'm just kind of hoping for good things there. I think everybody will bounce back. Excuse me. I definitely need to get in here and try and weed again, but the peas are really taking off. They are, certainly most of them are at least 12 inches tall. The tomatoes are actually looking really good. The stalks, like, almost immediately started to turn like a deep purple, and they're responding really well. There is new growth, and the new growth is nice and deep green, so I find that to be very encouraging. A couple of my pea plants have blossoms on them, so hopefully we'll be having some sugar snap peas like real soon. And these hot peppers, I know they look so sad. They're going to bounce back, I'm certain of it, but they did get sun scorched like pretty bad. Like I said, we really did not harden these things off properly at all. We did end up planting, you know, a week earlier than we really had thought we were going to, so we've kind of shocked our peppers a little bit. But there's lots of nutrients in the ground. We always put in some fresh soil whenever we dig the holes to plant them, so they've got some fertilizer, they've got some feed in there. And we've had lots of rain. This past weekend we did get the storms the first weekend in May, just like they called for. So they've got lots of water, they've got lots of nutrients, and I really think they're just going to start taking off once they sort of recover from their transplant shock. But everything is looking really good, and I have just all kinds of good vibes and feelings about this year's garden. I really am excited. And one of the things that was really beautiful after we planted everything out was the realization about how this garden is going to look so much different than last year's garden. And that seems like something that would be obvious, but it just kind of hit me like once it's all fully grown and stuff and things are really starting to come in, I mean, it's just going to look totally different. It's going to be nothing like last year at all. And that's really exciting. I can't wait to see what it does. I do have a lot more flowers and things that I want to plant so that I have some flowers coming up around the garden. So hopefully we'll get to do that really soon. But just want to thank you for taking some time with us today and watching our video, coming hanging out and seeing what we've got growing. It's very, very exciting around here, and I hope to share lots more with you. We really appreciate your time, and if you like the video and you like what we're doing here, please like and subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you in the next video.